The Christmas Bow is a pretty good film. This was released in 2020. This is directed by Clare Niederpruem and written by Peyton McDavitt and Erin Rodman. And this stars Lucia Micarelli as Kate and Michael Rady as Patrick. We also have Kenneth Cummins as Gavin, who is an adorable child. He is if I remember correctly, the son of Patrick's cousin, if I'm correct about that. And he brought a really great youthful energy to it, and I rather enjoyed his performance. Kate is a keen violinist. She's a very successful, gifted violinist, but unfortunately, at the start of the film, she experiences a hand injury. And it's not a severe injury, but it's enough that it's going to affect her playing for a significant amount of time. And she has to deal with that. And it's a very emotional time. And obviously, it's in the run up to Christmas when she should be playing a lot of concerts and doing what she loves, and she can't. And that's very difficult for her. Things also get a bit confusing when she goes to physical therapy, and her physical therapist is an old friend, Patrick, who she knew as a child. And what I love about this is that there was no animosity. It's not one of those relationships where they had a fling, they broke up, and things were awkward. They were just friends. And it meant that straight away the connection between them was really, really beautiful to watch. And the romantic aspect of this, I thought, was very convincing. And what Patrick brought out in Kate was really lovely to see. And I really thoroughly enjoyed that. And as I said, the scenes with Gavin, Patrick's cousin's son, correct me if I've misremembered that, I particularly loved. We also have a lot of scenes, or a decent amount of scenes, set in a music store where Kate is currently working. And I think they staged that very well. It's very well laid out. It's a wide open space. It's a very pleasant environment with a lot of different instruments and a lot to look at. And it kind of made me cringe a bit because a girl goes into the store to buy a recorder. I played recorder for many, many years. And of course, when you're a child, you don't realise how not very pleasant the instrument sounds. But actually, I rather enjoyed that. It gave me a little rush of nostalgia, which is always nice with a Christmas film. The film also looks at balance. And I don't want to say too much about this, but Kate has understandably spent her entire life focused on one thing, and that's her career, her love of the violin, her passion for music. And by only allowing herself to focus on that so she can reach the highest goals possible, she's not allowed her heart to be open to other things in life, such as romantic relationships. And I think this is a lesson that we can all do well to take away. I know certainly I benefit a lot from this. I'm often one track minded and I put all of my energy into one thing to achieve goals in one direction, that I think it's easy to forget that actually you need to step back a bit and allow other things into your life. Kind of like not putting all of your eggs in one basket, but a little bit more sentimental. And I think that was a really important lesson that I know many of us can do well to remember. With regards to the festive aspect, it is quite Christmassy. There are a lot of Christmas decorations. Obviously, there's a lot of Christmas music. And there's one scene in particular, which I will discuss with a spoiler warning, that's easily one of the most emotional scenes in any film ever. I'm getting choked up just thinking about it. It was very well done, so I have a lot of praise for that, but I'll discuss that with a spoiler warning in a moment. A lot of Christmas presents and decorations, and yeah, it's definitely a very festive film that I really thoroughly enjoyed. It was a little slow. Is my only real point of criticism is that it took at least me a little bit of time to really get behind the characters, to feel emotionally invested. I feel like the narrative was a bit repetitive for a little while. We weren't really going anywhere. But after about maybe 20 minutes, half an hour, everything picked up and it was a joy to watch. And I'm very happy to recommend it. The performances are good, the characters are likable, and yeah, very Christmassy as well. So I'd say it's worth checking out. So the spoiler, I'm going to spoil one scene. It doesn't really spoil anything about the development of the narrative, but it is what I consider to be the best scene in the film and one of the best scenes I've seen in any film ever because of how instant my emotional breakdown was. It just hit me immediately. It was, and I thankfully, don't have any direct experience with this, and I'll explain what I mean by that. It'll make sense in a moment. But I found it to be so raw and so emotional, and it's getting to me now just thinking about it. And I feel like if anybody can relate to it, it's going to hit even harder. So big spoilers for this scene from now. It's the scene where Kate is playing the violin and her family are all in this room, and we have her grandmother who has dementia, and when there's kind of no recognition in her grandmother's eyes, and then Kate starts to play this song on the violin, and as soon as her grandmother hears it, she turns her head and she kind of looks at the violin rather than looking at Kate, and she begins to sing. And there are several things that made this so difficult to watch for the right reasons. For the right reasons because it's so emotional, but also because to think that people actually do go through this kind of thing. I don't know the science behind it. I don't know how likely it is that somebody with dementia would recognize the song instantly and remember all of the words. But we do hear of cases where a lot of people with dementia will remember just certain things really vividly. And this is the case with this song, and she starts singing it, and the atmosphere is beautiful but sorrowful. And the emotions that are conveyed in this scene are impossibly realistic. And as I said, I thankfully don't have any direct experience with a person with dementia. And it hit me hard. So I can only imagine what it's going to be like if you can relate to this scene. And what I loved particularly about this is when her grandfather started almost laughing. It wasn't quite laughing, but he was so happy. He couldn't contain this happiness within himself. And that expression of just pure joy coming from him was just incredible, and how much it must have felt like such a relief to know that there was that part of his wife, Kate's grandmother, still in her. And to see her grandmother, his wife, singing and I guess enjoying it if she can in the moment. Obviously, singing that song was perhaps a pleasurable experience for her at one point, or something that meant a lot to her. And just to see the grandfather just bubbling over with, I don't know what emotion, relief, joy, happiness. Obviously, there's sadness in there too. It's incredible. Absolutely beautiful scene. And honestly, it's one of the most powerful scenes I've seen in a very long time. So massive, massive credit to the film for doing that, because it was gorgeous. The rest of the film was good, but that scene, it was something else. If you haven't seen The Christmas Bow and you like Christmas rom-coms, definitely watch it. It's a really lovely film.